I read a book written by your manager. In fact, he was Jack Benny's manager, too.
Fine.
And he told about your wonderful friend, Jack Benny.
Yeah.
Says how easy it was for you to break Jack Benny up. Is there anybody that really breaks you up, George?
Well, sure, but it's got to be off the cuff. It's got to be. It wouldn't be a joke. You know what I mean? Anybody can break me up. It can be the elevator boy if he says something funny. That's not written. That comes out of his mouth at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only comedians that'll make me laugh. It's also, the waiter.
The pressure, of the travel and being on the road all the time takes its toll. It's the hardest thing about this business is the fact that you're away from home so much.
Hey, now that the Watergate scandal has just about burned out, what's the newest topic for joke making?
Well, I have never gone with trends like that. I might do a few lines and talk about it if I feel like doing so. I never did anything on Watergate when it was hot, because everybody was doing it. If I get something like that and everybody does it, I steer clear of it. I talk about just life in general, just the everyday life and put things that happen to people. I enjoy that.
Now, you say you didn't have any amateurs on. That talent scout show is actually people who were professional, or...
That's right, people who were making their living in the show business.
But just hadn't made it on network TV.
That's right. That was the idea, was to give them an exposure nationally, and from there, lots of them went on. Like Eddie Fisher in the beginning, Lenny Bruce, the McGuire sisters.
During that time, you must have seen an awful lot of changes take place in the movie industry.
Yes, Ken, well, when you're on any job for 40 years, you wear a lot of hats, and you never get rid of them. Primarily, I'm the head of sound effects department, and the voices that I do came along because, in the case of Mickey, let's say, about 26 or 27 years ago, of course, Walt had always done Mickey. So whenever I do it, I feel I'm still standing in for Walt.
How did those road shows ever come about?
Well, they were started because Bing and I had worked together, and somebody saw us work out at Del Mar, the racetrack, and decided that we had a little chemistry going, so they put us together.
Do you correspond with Miss Vicky at all?
Not at all. I guess it's best that way. She said to me before she left in 74, January, we can always be friends. And I say that, after I've called you sweetheart, how can I call you friend?
When Arbitron compiled the results of its radio audience survey in the nation's 180 largest metro markets, the station with the largest share of audience in any of them was WJBC in Bloomington, Illinois. And one of the reasons must be the interesting people who pop up on the air during the Ken Behrens Show. Some of them are Ken's listeners. Others include such showbiz personalities as Gene Autry, William Conrad, Peggy Cass, Steve Allen, Rose Marie, and comedian Pat Paulson, people who respect Ken as an interviewer and an entertainer.
Hi, it's Pat Paulson. Whenever I listen to the radio, I listen to WJBC, but Ken Behrens really does a mediocre job, and I hear that a lot of people like him. So you watch if you want.
And when you watch the Ken Behrens Show, weekdays 9 till noon on WJBC, you'll be a part of the most loyal radio audience in the nation, the people with the spirit of McLean County.
Do you think the law, the capital punishment on the books, is any kind of a deterrent for those who haven't murdered?
Well, it's hard to say. At least it didn't deter me, because I killed people after I'd had it and got community alive. Maybe I didn't have enough sense for it to deter me, but at least it didn't. And I really don't think that it deters anybody. I think that a person does what he's going to do, and then he thinks about the consequences later.
What goes through your mind right after an incident like that happens? You've just killed somebody. Do you have a feeling of guilt? Does your conscience bother you?
Well, it didn't. I didn't have much scruple against killing somebody back then. After I'd come off death row, I lost my faith completely. And at one time, I was so far gone that I would have killed every official and anybody else that got in my way from escaping from prison.
There's a picture in the front page of our pantograph here in town, and this morning it's a very frightening picture because the line it looks like he's going probably for your neck at that point.
We have pictures here on the Plains Dealer, too. We have one where I'm sitting on him, and then one where the trainer is clubbing, and he has me on the back. So that's a different picture. I haven't seen that one. He did come around. The last time he bit me was on the face.
Joe, what were they really like?
Butch Cassidy was an awful nice guy, and Etta was an awful good girl. Etta Price, well, she was a good girl to start with, but they got tapped off. Butch told me that he got tapped off on the wrong foot by guys and just got started wrong.
How was Sundance?
Well, Sundance was a fearless guy. He was a little bit more cold-blooded. I helped him hang a guy one time with the point of a gun. I had to help him hang that guy, and he and I didn't hit it off very well. But by gosh, he was all right. He was a good-looking guy when he was cleaned up and everything. But Butch Cassidy had the first word with the gang.
Doing a late morning show isn't easy. There has to be something to keep people tuned in once they've already found out what happened overnight in the news. Having interesting guests helps. I just meant as far as crazy stunts were concerned, have you ever...
Well, I just thought the most famous one I did was when on New Year's Day night I told the kids to go into their mom and dad's bedroom and not to wake them up, and that their dad's pants would be on the floor and their mom's pocketbook would be there because they'd been out New Year's Eve. And I said, don't wake them up. I said, but you go in there and get all those green pieces of paper with the pictures on them and put them in an envelope and you send them to Soupy Sales, Channel 5, New York, New York. I said, you know what I'm going to send you? A postcard from Puerto Rico. And I got like $80,000. But in play money and green pieces of paper. But I did get $1 from some woman who said, I've seen your show and you ought to go to Puerto Rico.
We didn't want to start him right away because we weren't sure how he would go over. So I gave him a secondary part in an Andy Panda cartoon, and after we reviewed the picture, it became such a hit that I decided, well, here we have a new star. And from then on, we started to feature Woody Woodpecker in a series of his own.
I wanted to hear how you normally talk, because when you're on TV, it's a bit of an affected type voice, isn't it?
When I'm when I'm playing Arnold, Arnold comes from Brooklyn, and he kind of talks like this all the time. And he has a very strange laugh. He laughs like this. And he is one of the underachievers in Mr. Carter's class.
When you talk about goals for television programs for youngsters, what would you say are the basic differences between, say, Sesame Street and Captain Kangaroo? Or do you both try to do pretty much the same thing?
Well, no, I think we're really differently oriented, and of course we've had a very close relationship with Children's Television Workshop since before Sesame went on the air, because most of the people, in the very beginning, almost all of the people involved in production were trained on Captain Kangaroo, from the executive in charge of production all the way down. At one time, I guess we had 20 or 21 people working in production at CTW who had started with Captain Kangaroo, and we've been very close. But we are different programs. They are very much more by virtue of their federal funding from health, education, and welfare. They're cognitively oriented. Their purpose is to teach the young child literary and mathematics skills, a sort of electronic Head Start program. We're much more like Fred Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We're much more affectively oriented. We believe in the emotional and cultural development of the very young child. We believe in motivation. We believe that a child will read if motivated to read, and even given the skills will not read if not motivated. In other words, if the child doesn't feel good about herself, if she doesn't know how she fits into society and feel that she has value in the future, there's nothing in the world that's going to cause her to read. So I think the two programs are very complementary, but quite different in their goals.
It's often interesting to find someone with an unusual occupation. What is it that you do for a living?
I'm a toilet seat tester, sir.
A toilet seat tester?
Right.
When people ask you that, you just sort of come right out and say it?
Well, no need to beat around the bush. Get it over with and hear the laugh.
I think there's more in that statement than what we just realized.
There is.
Well, what qualifies you to be a toilet seat tester? How much do you weigh?
Well, we don't. I beg your pardon. We don't quite test them that way, sir.
And sometimes it's fun to get a personality such as a Steve Allen to relive a past experience.
Well, I used to write the bulk of the commercials for the station, for the Arizona network at that time. And as you know, being in the business, but the average person might not,
when they hear an announcer doing a commercial, he's generally reading it out of a whole book of commercials. And if you're on the board, let's say from noon till 4 in the afternoon, then there's a certain group of commercials which are set up on a kind of a stand for your use, and there are the times specified when they're supposed to be read. And so I used to occasionally forge one of the commercials because I thought the announcers really weren't paying attention to what their mouths were saying. So I would take a piece of the paper on which I had written the original commercial and make a duplicate of it. But after the first 3 or 4 lines, the commercial would very slowly turn into total nonsense. And then I would set my alarm for the time of morning when the guys were supposed to read these things. I'd wake up about 2 minutes before and lie there in bed and laugh my head off as they read this total gibberish. And then finally they would realize they'd been had.
I think everybody likes to reminisce, and occasionally it's fun to locate a personality from the past and let the audience talk with them.
Yes. Don McNeil?
Yes.
I just love your Breakfast Club, and I'm still a big fan of yours.
Well, thank you.
Whatever happened to Aunt Fanny?
Oh, I see her, funny, she lives the farthest away, and I think I see her the oftenest of any of the Breakfast Club gang. She lives in New Jersey, and of course she's Fran Allison, as you probably know, of Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. And we're great friends, and we meet here, we meet in the East, and I see her quite often. She's fine.
Well, she was just like the mini Pearl of radio.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thanks a lot, Don, and lots of luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for calling.
Well, this is Foster Brooks inviting you to stay tuned to the Ken Behrens. You know, good old Kenny will be on right in a few minutes. I can't say Barrett.
You've waited for it. And now we present the story of the world's largest recreation table. Ping pong.
Pat, are you there?
Hello? Just nodded out there for a minute, Ken. How's your show doing?
I don't know.
How's the ratings? Are they down there pretty low now?
Yeah. You cut a couple of promos for me, and that really helped out.
That's really, yeah.
We just hit bottom, I think, last week.
Well, of course. Well, welcome to the club. My career started big, and here we are in Lake Geneva.
In the lake itself, or where?
Right in the lake with the monster here somebody saw. We've got to start a rumor there's a monster in this lake.
This is crazy,
Hugh
but...
Hefner in a wetsuit.
Pat Paulson, is that who this is?
Yeah, this is Pat Paulson.
I thought it was.
I'm just excited as heck to talk to you, Ken.
We're on the air live.
Well, I'll be careful. You don't have to worry. What happened? I was supposed to talk to you yesterday.
We had a bit of a mix-up, Pat, and we didn't get our connections.
It wasn't my fault, Ken. It was my staff. They fouled up, and I swear I don't think I did anything really wrong. There was no criminal intent at all. Those guys fouled up, and I just, I'm sorry if I hurt you.
No, you didn't at all.
Oh.
Except you're doing it now. You're cracking me up. We just woke you up, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. Can you tell by my voice? Well, I work at night, Ken. I'm one of these night people.
I think I'm getting even with you right now for yesterday.
Yeah, you are. Listen to this voice. How is that? It sounds like a whiskey voice.
Is that what it is?
I'm not a drinking man. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, goodness.
I don't do. Once in a while, I'll quaff a flagon of beer. But that's it.
You quaff a flagon?
I quaff a flagon occasionally.
Not all the time.
No.
Anyway, you are working these days.
Boy, I am. You call this work?
Let's see, the last time we talked with you, you were at the Playboy Club just for a couple of days, I think.
Yeah, this time I'm here all week, which is, I don't understand that at all, do you?
Well, they're doing it to everybody these days, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess this is their season, so I'll be here through Sunday, and I have 2 shows Saturday, and then just a show tonight, show tomorrow night, and 2 Saturday and 1 Sunday.
Being the active person that you are, Pat, and of course you're right up there at the crack of noon.
That's good. Like that dog. Listen, everybody said you couldn't come up with them, but that's good.
That's not real good either.
No, it's good. The crack of noon, I like that. Really, I'm going to use that.
Are you?
Tomorrow, and then people will write it down and say, that Paulson is really clever.